sorry, there's now a demand for food that is grown using sustainable methods. So it's important for us to align ourselves in order to tap into that market. To conclude, the proposed bill provides an important framework to coordinate agricultural markets and market players, and it is crucial to ensure the inclusion of all relevant institutions in its operations, and to design processes that avoid unnecessary bureaucratic delays. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll now hand over to my colleague, Kalemba.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll take you through the Food Reserve Bill. So just as a way of background or introduction, the Food Reserve Agency was established in 1995, and it was revised under the Food Reserve Act of 2020. So we find that FRA plays a key role in Zambia's agriculture sector. So this is done by ensuring that we have a national strategic food reserve, and also stabilizing prices and ensuring food security. Then in the literature, we also find that FRA purchase in maize and other agricultural commodities has a benefit to rural farmers because it supplies them with a reliable market, and it also supports household incomes and helps to mitigate price volatility. So the FRA is able to stabilize markets and also protect households by ensuring that by absorbing the surplus that we tend to have, by buying and mopping up the surplus agricultural products that are found and also by buying, by releasing stock when we have shortages or emergencies. So of course the efficiency depends on the timing, the scale, and also coordination with private sector players. So we move to page 3. So during the period of the act that we are aiming to repeal, the 2020 Act, Zambia faced serious, FRA faced serious operational problems such as delayed payments to farmers, inadequate storage capacity when maize purchases increased, and also just general inefficiency and high costs of production, of operations rather. So therefore, this new bill has been put in place to provide some reforms in this area. So I won't go through the specific objectives of the bill, but we can move to part 3, where we analyze the Food Reserve Bill and also the implications. So generally, we note that the bill presents some provisions that could strengthen and improve efficiency in the agriculture sector. However, there are some challenges which I will speak to later on. So in this section, we're now going to look at the strengths of the Food Reserve Bill that has been proposed. So one of the strengths is strengthened financial oversight. So in section 25, we note that the agency, the FRA, is now required to raise loans in accordance with the Debt Management Act of 2022. So this was a provision that wasn't there in the previous act, and it also requires that FRA should be audited by the Auditor General. So this provision is expected to ensure that public debt is managed prudently, and also to meet the FRA's financing needs at the lowest possible cost. Then secondly, we note some institutional and governance reforms that have been proposed in the bill. So the first one I'll speak to is the creation of a pricing model. So the bill proposes to create a pricing model and this pricing model will be used to restock the National Strategic Food Reserve, and the pricing will be based on the prevailing market rates in different parts of the country. Then secondly, there's now a requirement to dispose stock mechanisms. So we see that under the functions of the FRA, they've added this provision where the FRA is required to dispose of stock using stock management mechanisms. So you find that during the emergency drought response last year, the FRA did import some maize from Tanzania. So the Auditor General's office issued an audit in September 2025, and it revealed that when they had disposed 49 bags of 50 kg maize that was in Katete, which they had suspected to be rotten because it was looking brown. So the report highlights that even though it was disposed of, it wasn't tested according to proper mechanisms. So adding this function is very, very important, because then it would help increase accountability and also avoid theft, because somebody could just claim that the maize is rotten and maybe steal the maize. So this provision is very important. Then I'll move on to another reform that has been added. So this one is a determination of the size of the National Strategic Food Reserve. So in the previous act, the 2020 Act, the Minister responsible for agriculture could determine the size of the National Strategic Food Reserve. But now this function has been moved to the Zambia Agricultural Marketing Council, which is being proposed in the Agricultural Marketing Bill. Then another strength of the bill that has been proposed is prioritizing purchasing from players in rural areas. So this is a commendable move, because our farmers and marketers in rural areas do face logistical challenges. It could be poor roads, poor access to markets, and which could constrain their ability to sell what they have. So then the FRA prioritizing our players in rural areas is a plus for them, and it could help resolve some of these challenges. Then fourthly, we have strengthened compliance with other laws. So in clause 15, we see that so in a situation where the minister gives the board of the FRA specific or general direction, so the board is allowed to carry these directions out, provided they are not contrary to the Food Reserve Bill. So in the previous act, it was saying they could carry out these directions provided they are not contrary to the act. But in the bill, a new provision has been added which says that these directions shouldn't be contrary as well to any other law. So this just increases that oversight and reduces ambiguity by leaving out any other laws in the Republic. Then we move on to another strength of the bill, which so a clause has been added which wasn't in the 2020 Act, where FRA can, after approval by cabinet, can actually release agricultural commodities from the National Strategic Food Reserve to help foreign countries, or to help other countries in case they have an emergency or any situation that constrains their supply. So this move could help strengthen diplomatic relations, but of course these commodities shouldn't be released at the expense of Zambians. Then another strength that we highlight is increased monitoring and evaluation of FRA by the board. So in the 2020 Act, it wasn't explicitly stated that the board has the responsibility to monitor and evaluate the performance of FRA against its budget and plans. But we see that in the bill, this has been added. So this clause is expected to improve accountability of the executive management within FRA to ensure that they implement the plans of the agency. Then another strength is the increased notice period for board meetings. So previously, when the chairperson calls for a meeting, they would give a notice of 7 days, but now it's been increased to 14 days. So this is also good, because then it helps the board members to plan better, given the other responsibilities that they have in the institutions. Then lastly, on the strengths, still on page 5, we see that if a board member of the FRA is resigning, they are now required to give a month's notice. So in the previous act, we didn't see this notice period. So this is expected to help in just that smooth transition, because you have a board member leaving, so then it gives them enough time to get somebody else from that institution to replace the specific member. Then still on page 5, we'll now highlight some of the weaknesses of the bill that has been proposed. So firstly, we note some institutional and governance gaps. For instance, the bill does not include key representatives to the board of FRA. So we recommend that a member from the Zambia Environmental Management Authority, ZEMA, should be added because their absence could weaken environmental compliance. Then we also recommend that a representative from the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, CCP, should be added just to help prevent unfair pricing practices. Then secondly, we note some gaps in the proposed pricing model. We note that there is a risk that price setting mechanisms, if they are not carefully designed, could distort market dynamics, which could make the production of the designated agricultural commodities less competitive. So if the pricing isn't competitive, it could result in farmers and other players moving away from the commodities that are designated as strategic commodities, and this then has the potential to constrain supply. So it's necessary that the pricing mechanism is fair. Then lastly, on the weaknesses, we see so we find that in the 2020 Act, if a board member is absent and they have a member from their institution representing them in a specific meeting, that representative did not have a voting right. But in this bill, there's no inclusion of the clause that the representative will not have a voting right. So here we note that if a representative has the voting right, they may not have sufficient background information on a certain matter, and they may lack that institutional memory to make a wise decision. So therefore, that has to be stated. So in conclusion, we of course have spoken to some recommendations as I was going through the submission, but just in summary, we recommend that we strengthen the board composition and governance. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we could introduce representatives from agencies such as ZEMA and CCPC. Then we could also enhance the pricing model, ensure that the model does not distort market dynamics and makes the production of designated agricultural products less competitive. So here we note that strategic reserves are safety nets and not substitutes for competitive markets. Then thirdly, transparency, accountability, and regular stock rotation and quality assurance. So here we're saying to avoid spoilage, ensure that the reserve, our strategic food reserves, remain usable. These reserves should be managed with regular audits, proper storage standards, and transparent decision making on release or disposal. So therefore, in conclusion, we say the bill should be strengthened before it's adopted by addressing the critical issues that we identified. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, any questions or clarifications? Yes, Zipa. You have noted the removal of a representative from the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, and from the board. Don't you think this is a replication, since Ministry of Agriculture stand in and the mandate is more or less the same? So why is it that you want to emphasize the inclusion of the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock? And secondly, on the Agriculture Marketing Bill number 35 of 2025, what would you recommend as a regulation mechanism of other players that have been incorporated under this bill, the Agriculture Marketing Bill? as a way of regulating their participation and behavior from your end as ZIPA. What is your comment? I notice also in the Food Reserve Bill that the bill grants the minister discretionary powers to designate essential commodities. Don't you think that this may open up room for politicization of decisions, especially during election periods? So you can take those three, and we'll get to the honorable members. Yes, Zipa, you can go
Chair,
ahead if you're ready to respond.
You've posed 3 questions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think we got correctly the first one, talking about
The exclusion of Minister of Fisheries.
Minister of Fisheries, yes. Then the second one, I think...
I said that what would you recommend as a regulation mechanism of other players that have been incorporated under the Agricultural Marketing Bill?
Okay, regulation mechanism.
Yes, as a way of regulating their participation and behavior from your end as ZIPA.
You answer the second one.
You've gotten it right now?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And then I talked about the bill granting the minister discretionary powers to designate essential commodities. So then I said the implication would be that this would open up room for politicization of decision, especially during an election period. Thank you. You may respond to those 3.
All right, thank you, Chair. I'll attempt to answer 2, and then my colleagues can help me with the other one. So the issue of excluding the Minister of Fisheries, Chair, you understand that it was once one ministry, and of course at that point it was legitimate that we have only one representative, but now these are 2 distinct ministries, so we need to have representation from each to ensure that the agriculture side, the crop side, and all the other aspects that fall under the Ministry of Agriculture are represented, as well as the other side, which is the livestock and fisheries, are represented. Having only one person poses a risk in the sense that there will be probably half representation. That person might just be well vested in issues that relate to agriculture alone rather than livestock. So this is our bone of contention. And then on the issue of excessive power, of course it's noted that probably we didn't bring it out strongly in the report. It's noted that the minister has been given a kind of more power than before. That's really noted, and there are risks to that effect. Of course, other people deeming these powers to have political influence on the market. So we probably need to just put in place maybe safeguards to ensure that the minister does not go outside what is required. But there is that possible risk of political interference, which may be seen by others in that way. Maybe my colleague can handle the regulation mechanism of numbers.
Yes, on the agriculture marketing bill, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. One of the problems in the past has been that some of the players in the marketing of agricultural commodities. So I'll give an example of the traders or the middlemen, the ones who tend to buy from farmers and sell to other markets. So there's been, if you listen around, there's been a complaint that they exploit the farmers at times. So they give them a low price, right? And then they put exorbitant profit margins, and so in short, the complaint has been that they're ripping off the farmers. So we see that in the bill already there have been some measures that have been introduced. For example, the first one is that these players are now required to register with the Zambia Agriculture Marketing Council that has been proposed. So these players will be required to register and to also get a license before they can operate. Then in addition to that, they are required to submit their annual reports to the council. So I believe this is one way of also regulating. I just hope that in the annual reports we'll be able to see transparently how much what prices they're using to buy from farmers, just to ensure that fairness. So I guess an addition would be to ensure that even as they submit the annual reports, the council should have a picture of the prices that they are offering to farmers. You know, because sometimes our farmers in the rural areas are vulnerable. They might accept the low price because that's all they have at that time. That, as I mentioned earlier, they experience logistical challenges, so they may not have enough money to transport their goods to better markets. So then they are at the mercy of these middlemen and traders. So I submit. Thank you.
Honorable members, any other comments? Yes, Honorable Banda.
Thank you, Chair. I think I just want to find out are you satisfied with the determinants that have been outlined in the Agriculture Marketing Bill in considering the National Strategic Food Reserve?
Yes, you can tackle that one. And Honorable Member also has a concern.
Zepa, thank you very much for this well-researched report that you have given. I want to find out from your recommendation on the marketing bill, on your recommendation part 1, where you are indicating that on the functions of the council, we recommend including promoting the use of sustainable agricultural methods. Let me stop just there, and more especially where it talks about environmentally friendly food systems. Currently, we have a challenge in the country of the ratio between one agriculture extension officer to about 500 farmers, which is too big to sustain. My question is that if you look at the chemicals that are used in the industry, in agriculture, more especially in crop production, we use a lot of different types of chemicals for us to manage some pesticides and also to manage weed and other things, which are very detrimental to the environment. And looking at the number of farmers that one agriculture extension officer looks at, how sustainable would it be that we'll manage to look at this whilst we are grappling with this challenge of lack of agriculture extension officers? Thank you.
Thank you. You can handle those two.
They are here, but these are the determinants.
Yes, Mr. Mlembe, are you ready?
I'll allow my colleague. Sorry, Chair, we started.
You are at liberty to guide. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, please. My colleague will probably speak to those issues because I probably didn't get the question correctly, so I was trying to consult her exactly what it is all about.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think the last question was how we were saying we're recommending that implement sustainable agricultural practices.
But are you clear with his question?
So I'm trying to clarify with him.
So Honorable Banda, maybe you may repeat.
Yeah, the one on you're saying how looking at what farmers use in terms of the harmful chemicals, weed killers. So how possible is it for us to ensure environmental sustainability, given that there's a limited number of extension officers. Huh? Yes. Okay. So I think the issue of extension officers is quite a challenge in the agriculture sector. For example, for the study we did on cotton farming, so the information we got is that sometimes you could even have the ratio of 1 officer to 3,000 cotton farmers. So this is one challenge. So it's therefore important that the ministries could increase the number of extension officers. Then, yeah, so it could pose a challenge on environmental sustainability, because then if you don't have enough extension officers educating the farmers on environmentally sustainable practices, then some farmers won't know what to do. So therefore, it's recommended that they can increase the number of extension officers to help the farmers implement sustainable environmental practices. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just want to learn more in your interaction with different stakeholders. What is the sustainable number that will be good enough in terms of trying to sustain this proposal that you have? Thank you.
Okay, so we haven't looked into that, unless you know, Dr. Blinga.
Not really. We haven't interrogated the issue of the optimal number of extension officers per, say, population of farmers or per number of farmers. We haven't gone into that. But maybe to just add to what my colleague was highlighting in terms of sustainability, you mentioned how realistic is this recommendation. Of course, when we were making the recommendation, of course, the recommendations have to be actionable and realistic to the setup. But we were thinking of it in the sense that this is the route the world is taking, and at some point you find that every country will be demanding products or agricultural products that are produced sustainably. So it's up to us as a country to take a step. It's a step by step. It's not something which we can achieve in 1 year. It's something we can achieve over a period of time. So we can start taking steps, small steps, until we get there. So one recommendation is that we can increase, of course, the extension officers, the number of extension officers, to ensure that they enlighten or they educate the farmers about sustainable practices, but also they are beyond that. There are other measures that can be taken to ensure that farmers adopt these practices beyond the extension officers. Mindset change, and mindset change can happen not only through extension officers. You can provide information. Nowadays we have phones and all. They can access this information, which they can adopt. We have AIs and all. We have radio stations out there. An extension officer can go to a radio station and people will be able to access the information. We have cooperatives. People can work through cooperatives and all and disseminate this information. So there are, of course, low-hanging fruits we can exploit to ensure that this is achieved. Thank you.
Honorable Banda, would you be able to again repeat that question? Yeah, that question was.
Thank you so very much, Chair. I just wanted to find out if you are satisfied with the determinants or other factors that has been outlined in the Agriculture Marketing Bill in considering the National Strategic Food Reserve. I thank you.
So we can handle that.
Okay, so the bill is proposing that when determining the size of the National Strategic Food Reserve, the things that should be looked at are the lean period, the period in which we don't have as much production, and we also look at human consumption, so what will be demanded by Zambians, and it should also look at industrial requirements, so the agricultural products that will be needed in the industries, also livestock requirement, mobilization of resources, the importation period, climate change, and any other factors that the council may determine. So I guess broadly we could say these are sufficient, and I guess the clause H does account for anything else that even as you go along the council may determine to be sufficient. So the inclusion of that clause, any other factors that the council may determine, I guess covers the things that could have been left out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zip, you are researchers and you are key players in research in such an industry. Now, there are safeguards to avoid compromising domestic food security when exporting or providing regional aid to other countries. What's your reaction? And Honorable Mwemba also has a concern, and Honorable Mteacha. So you take the three now.
Thank you very much, Chair, once more. On the Food Reserve Agents Bill, Zipa, you have indicated that you recommend or you appreciate the increase from 7 days to 14 days to call for a board meeting. With this information systems that we have currently in the country, where information can be disseminated on the phone and even minutes of the would-be meeting can be circulated on the phone, why would you think that 14 days would be better than 7 days, looking at the efficiency that we desire to run the FRA, because of the challenges that we've seen in the FRA, that sometimes decisions are delayed to be made, and hence putting 14 days, don't you think that it will be detrimental to achieving the desired objective?
So, Honorable Mteacha.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, witness, for your submissions. I just want to take you to the Agricultural Marketing Bill. That is, I think, clause 12, where clause 12A, a person who intends to engage in agricultural marketing or act as a market player shall apply to the council for registration in a prescribed manner and form, and there will be a fee there. Then the council shall, within 14 days of receipt of an application, grant or reject the application. Some other stakeholders who have appeared before the committee have maybe suggested that maybe 14 days could be too long. It will create some bureaucracy. So they suggest a reduction in days, let's say 48 hours, up to 5 days. So I wanted to get your comment on that one. Thank you.
Yes, so you can respond to those three.
Okay, thank you for the questions. So the first question was on, are there safeguards in providing relief agricultural commodities to foreigners? So I think that's a gap. That's in the bill, because it doesn't highlight, it doesn't give conditions on it doesn't include the safeguards, because again we don't want a situation where we help foreigners at the expense of Zambians, at the expense of the National Strategic Food Reserve. So therefore that's a gap, and it should be noted and added in the bill. Now then I think the other question was, is in 14 days too long? So I guess the 14 days is just good for the sake of planning for a member who has to attend the meeting. But in the bill you find other provisions for in case you have an agency. So I think it does cover that, where upon an agent meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Honorable Mteacha's concern?
14 days too short for someone who applies to the market. 14 days too long. Applying for a license.
Yes, Honorable Ma'am.
I think it's just a clarification on this answer. The the initial period has been 7 days, and now it has been increased to 7 days. I mean 14 days. Don't you think that we building a reluctance in terms of execution of duty to the board members? Because when you look at a period of 14 days to just look on the minutes or probably on notification, why don't you think that 7 days will suffice, based on the fact that we have every deliverables that we can be able to use? Even on the phone, you can be able to take the minutes, and then you'll be efficient enough to deliver what you desire in the board meeting. Thank you.
Yes, you can react to that. Zipper?
Thank you, Chair. We are thinking that the increase to 14 days brings in the issue of, as highlighted by my colleague, issues of planning. Of course, things can be done quickly, but certain procedures need to be followed. For example, the people will be sitting on that particular board, right, may not be fully or employed by the board. They have other activities or they have other engagements they are involved in. So they need to take time and plan their schedule, their activities nicely to ensure that they attend to this important matter. And once you have this meeting, of course, as you said, today you can have the meeting, then you have the minutes circulated the following day and all that. But there is need for ample time probably to scrutinize certain things. But we were thinking of, we saw it from the angle of planning, that probably we are dealing with people who are engaged in other activities, and then they need probably ample time to schedule their activities to be able to attend to this. We're also thinking that probably the suggestion came from the fact that maybe in the past the 7 days was proving to be problematic. That's why probably this suggestion was made to increase the number of days. So we made the suggestion from that background that perhaps 7 days was problematic. That's why they have decided to increase it for planning purposes and to ensure that there are no excuses from the members of the board. Thank you.
Okay, and then on the question for rejecting or granting the application, we feel that 14 days is actually enough time for the council to either reject or grant the application, because by then they would have done the necessary checks that are needed to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zipper. As we come to the end, we'd like to thank you for your in-depth presentation and the interaction that we've had with the honorable members. What are your concluding remarks?
We just want to thank you, Chair, and honorable members of the committee for this invitation. Of course, we appreciate that we are contributing to the debate on national matters, and it is important speaking from an evidence point of view. Of course, maybe we didn't interrogate fully all the matters in the report because of the time, because we were given this request last week and we have a lot of other activities going on. We were actually just pulled from one activity we are doing in Chongwe to come and do this presentation. So perhaps maybe if we had ample time, we would have interrogated other situations happening in other countries to provide a clearer and more comprehensive picture. But we did what we could given the time. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Zipper. At the beginning of your submission, I had conferred you with immunity to help in the deliberations under captures of the laws of Zambia. Allow me now to remove the immunity that I had placed upon you, so that you remain as Zipper. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You are still watching Parliament TV, and that was Committee on Agriculture, Natural Lands and Natural Resources, which was considering 3 bills, and these are the Food Reserve National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2025, the Agriculture Credits and Warehouse Receipts National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2025, as well as the Agricultural Marketing National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2025. Now, just to run you through some of of this bill, of the 3 bills rather. The Agricultural Marketing National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2025 seeks to establish the Zambia Agricultural Marketing Council and define its functions, regulate and support agricultural markets, promote an efficient private sector-driven agricultural marketing systems, establish the Agricultural Marketing Observatory Unit to manage data and information on agricultural products and markets. The other objective is to facilitate access to agricultural markets, promote the competitiveness of agricultural products and services, domestic, regional, and international markets, establish a framework for intervention measures related to an agricultural product, and provide for matters connected with or incidental to the Agricultural Credits and Awareness Receipts Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2025, seeks to continue the existence of the Warehouse Licensing Authority and redefine its functions. And the last one, the Food Reserve National Assembly number 33 of 2025, seeks to continue the existence of the Food Reserve Agency and redefine its functions, reconstitute the board of the agency and redefine its function. And those are some of the objectives of the 3 bills which have been considered by the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources. This is Parliament TV. Continue watching Parliament TV. Yeah.